We've all heard that electric is the future of boating, and we've been living aboard this decked-out solar electric-powered catamaran for the past couple of weeks. So many of you have asked, does it live up to the hype? Well, on our final day aboard the Windelo 54, we're diving deeper into our experience. What works, what doesn't, and whether all this tech really delivers.
Well, it is our last morning aboard. Very bittersweet. I am not gonna lie, I'm not quite ready to leave. I'd like to just continue to stay. And Stefan left, I guess a couple of days ago. And now it's just been us here hanging out in Georgetown, living on anchor, catching up with friends, old and new, and there's so many people here, and I feel like that's one of the beautiful things about cruising the Bahamas. It's just great cruising grounds, but it's also a very social place, especially certain little hubs like Georgetown, where everybody is kind of coming and going through here often. And we've got Keith and Renee on Zadara are anchored right next to us over here.
You guys might know these hooligans. They might be familiar to you.
I've got Distant Shores in front of me, and this is the first time we've ever met those guys, and that was huge because they are pioneers in the creative space and sailing. So huge respect for those guys. It was really nice. Got to go over and have a cup of tea with them. We've met up with our old friends Katie and Craig on Supernova. They're here. Bobby on Sailing Doodles, plus new people that we've never met before, and it's that's all in just a couple of days. We've been trying to edit these videos, and it's not been going well because there's just too much socialization. But we started here 9 years ago. This was our first big trip, was to the Bahamas.
We're about to cross the stream for the first time ever. We are Bahamas bound.
It set us off on the right foot and the right tone for community and great cruising grounds, and just this is what the lifestyle is all about. And I feel like it's sort of like a coming home, because here we are again. We're having all these experiences and just in the community, but plus the waters and the sailing and the locals. I just feel like we've been sort of recharged in a way. It's really reminded us why we love this so much, which I think we kind of needed. Not only that, but we've been horrifically spoiled on this boat. It's been very nice. But we also have thoughts on that, but I'm gonna make a little bit of breakfast, and then we'll give you our overall impressions of breakfast taco life aboard this vessel.
Before we dive in, I want to give a quick rundown of the specs. This is Second Star, a 54-foot Windelo, and it's owned by our friends Beth and Paul. It has 4.5 kilowatts of solar and a 53.8 kilowatt hour battery bank at 48 volts. Now, being a sailboat, sailing is the primary form of propulsion, and the secondary is two 20 kilowatt Bell Marine electric motors. And because of the electric motors, when the props are not being used to propel the boat, they can be used for hydro generation. Then there is an 18 kilowatt generator on board to supply additional power for long distance motoring, making this a serial hybrid vessel.
After sailing on this boat for 2 weeks, I feel like my favorite area, and the one I want to talk about, is the forward cockpit. I wasn't sure how I'd like it because it's the first time we've ever sailed on something like this, but it was intuitive. You could work most of the lines no problem by yourself. You could see the sail with the windows. It was very comfortable. I got splashed less than I thought I would that day we went upwind. Now granted, we weren't in 10-foot seas or anything like that, but everything closes, so I have a feeling this will be a very dry cockpit. And our friends Barry and Jay say it's a dry cockpit most of the time, almost all of the time. Anyway, I really enjoyed it. As far as the solar goes, you can get more than what's on this boat, and I think we would have absolutely, I'm not gonna say absolutely no need for a generator, but very little need for a generator. The solar performed very well, and I love the way the solar monitoring is broken up into zones. Here you can really see how effective the deck solar is.
972.
That's impressive.
That is impressive.
Which is and isn't surprising because the hardtop gets shaded by the mast, boom, and rigging. But the deck solar, it rarely has shade.
I want to take a moment here to share a little bit of a cautionary tale with my fellow creators out there, especially if you're new, because where you post from matters. Because if you post from a country that doesn't allow monetization, that can lead to you getting demonetized, especially on platforms like YouTube and Facebook, where your location is a key factor to monetization eligibility, or sometimes the ability to access the platform at all. And right now I have a friend in Tonga who unfortunately just got demonetized on Facebook because she was not using a VPN. Which is where today's sponsor, Surfshark VPN, comes in. Because each social platform uses your location, often determined by your IP address, to determine eligibility for monetization. And Surfshark VPN is an app and web browser extension that lets us change our IP address to virtually place ourselves anywhere in the world. So anytime that I'm out of the country, like now, I always go in, turn on Surfshark, place myself back in the USA before I ever even log on to any of my social platforms, much less post, because we never know what kind of geo restrictions we're going to run into. Plus, Surfshark has a heap of other security features too, like a cookie and ad blocker so that we always get organic search results, or clean web so that we're protected from phishing attempts or malware. And my new favorite, alternative ID, so that we don't have to give out our real name or email address so that we can avoid spam. It is seriously an invaluable tool for us. And right now, if you go to surfshark.com/wins or just use code WINS at checkout, then you're gonna get 4 extra months of Surfshark VPN. And if you're not sure if it's a good tool for you, no worries. They offer a 30-day money-back guarantee, so there is no risk to try it out. Just click the link down in the description box below or scan the QR code on the screen.
The biggest power draw on this boat are the electric motors. We're gonna do a quick speed test here. What are they, 20 kilowatt motors, right?
20 kilowatt motors.
Right now we're pulling out about 6 and we're doing 5.5 knots of speed. So we're gonna go to, how high should we go?
Yeah, you could just pull it up.
Okay, we're going, pushing the throttle all the way down. Max throttle, boat speed 7.5 knots. That's no sails up. We got dagger boards halfway down. Got a little bit of current you can see in the drift. And now, what happens if I go to 10?
There you go. You're still at 6.5 knots of speed, and
Yeah.
you're much more efficient on your batteries now.
Almost 7. So no reason to go full throttle unless you need it.
All right, how'd you feel about that test?
Yeah, not too bad. It's a 54-foot boat. We got pretty calm seas with a little bit of current. Can't really tell with the drift on the Garmin. You don't really know exactly where the current is. But I felt like that's a pretty reasonable speed. And definitely at 10 kilowatts, 7 knots.
Very happy.
I like that. But you don't need motors at all when you got sails. And I
That's
think
right.
we're about to put up some sails. And because the Exumas are littered with narrow passes and cuts, we often had to motor for an hour or more just to get into and out of our anchorage. While I got the sails down and the motors on, instead of dropping the hook, we thought we should do a quick audio test. We got a lot of questions about how loud are the motors under electric and how loud is the generator while running the electric motors. And can you even run the electric motors without the generator on? So let's start with that. The answer is yes, we are running right now just electric motors. Most of the data that they provide has the motors set to 5 kilowatts each. With the genset, you can go about 1,000 miles. You can travel like this without the genset for about 4 hours, and you'll do between 5 and 6 knots of speed. Right now we're doing 5.8 knots of speed. It is pretty much slack tide, so we don't have a lot of current. And I'm gonna shut up now. Here's what it sounds like from the cockpit. We'll move back into the dining area. We also have all the windows open. So clearly, if we wanted it to be more quiet, we could shut these doors behind us. And then moving to the back. Out here by the dinghy. You hear water noise, you hear a little bit of a rumble from the motors. One more test. We'll go down into the cabin.
And the motors are right behind you.
Electric motors are right behind us, yes. So I can hear a little bit of rumble. I can feel the tiniest bit of
Vibration.
vibration. Now we're gonna test the other side, and this is the same side as the gin set. So this would be the guest aft cabin. Right now it's only motors. Okay, fire on that gin set. Okay, I heard it rev up just a tiny bit when it kicked on, but I don't know that I hear it.
Barely.
Barely a little bit. Back here in the forward cockpit, generator on. It is charging full RPMs. Here's what it sounds like. Dining table. So the generator is on this side. I can hear it a little bit more out here. You don't have that rumble like you have with a lot of diesel engines. It doesn't permeate through the whole boat and rattle everything. It's just a kind of a generally quiet hum. And that concludes the test. Or do you want to go down there? I don't think we need to go down there.
It's so minimal.
Yeah, I hate to say it, but as far as like sound and rattle goes, I would say the serial hybrid like this is probably less loud than a parallel hybrid with the engine and the electric going. Yeah. So in the 14 days we were on this boat, we ran the generator for about 9 hours, and that averages out to just a little over half an hour a day. We didn't run it every day, but we had 2 or 3 days straight of just rain and clouds, which is the reality of cruising. You know, you're gonna have days where there's clouds. Assuming a boat's gonna use a generator for a half an hour a day, that's pretty realistic. And then for this boat specifically, that now includes the motors. So you're not burning diesel engines and running a generator. You're actually powering all of your motors. And we were cooking, and we were cooking for big groups. We were making water. We were doing laundry almost every day. Like, we got laundry out right now because we're leaving. We're trying to clean the boat. So we were not being, I guess, conservative with our power usage. So I am quite surprised we only used about half an hour per day on average. Now, granted, we didn't run the ACs just because the weather has been so nice, and that would have changed things. But then on the other hand, you could say if it didn't rain.
Yeah, or if we would have had more wind.
If we would have had more wind, we could have sailed faster, and we could have regen, and we could have put a lot more power into the battery. So I don't know. I guess what I'm saying is I'm impressed. The forward cockpit, the overall power consumption, and the way this boat is set up.
Jason mentioned that we have not been running the aircon, and that's just because this boat is so open and airy, quite literally, because everything opens up. You've got this beautiful 360-degree view, which is just nice for enjoyment, but keeping you comfortable. Like, we open everything up. Actually, now we have stuff closed because it's so windy today that we're actually trying to keep the breeze down. But it's just been so comfortable this entire time. We haven't even thought to run the air conditioner, which really was sort of that like aha moment of like, oh my gosh, this is like the perfect tropical weather boat. Just because you can be so comfortable all the time, it means you will consume less power because you're not looking to turn on your aircon all the time.
You feel so connected to the water.
Oh my, yeah, and that's like, again, it's just the open concept is so beautiful because this platform goes down and it just feels so open and social and loungy, and it's just the right vibes for being out on the water. And then that would bring me to probably the one thing that I would modify, change. I don't know what you want to say, but the only thing I don't love is the davit system. Love the platform, love that it goes down, but the dinghy ends up sitting at an angle, which means water collects in it more so. It has to fill up a lot more before it finally reaches the drain hole. So I would love if that set a bit more flat. Maybe that could be done by modifying some blocks underneath here, something like that. Again, Beth and Paul haven't had this boat very long, so they haven't had a chance to really situate everything the way that they want to yet. Yeah. And then the davit arms don't actually go out that far, so it doesn't make 2 points of contact on the dinghy. And it hasn't been a problem, but also we haven't been out in big, heavy seas, and you can secure it down, but it's a little bit more, and it's a little less secure than if you did have those 2 points of contact. And then there's the winch. So it has an electric winch for lowering the platform. It's super easy to lower that and bring that back up. But whenever it comes to winching up the dinghy, you have to do that old school style. And It takes a lot of muscle. It's not an easy task, I will say that. But there is a fairly easy fix for that. Apparently there is an electric, like lithium powered handheld, that's just like a power tool. You put that in there and then that'll winch that up for you. So I think that would probably be something I'd be getting quickly. So maybe Beth and Paul, I'm sure that's probably already on their Christmas wish list. I can imagine. I'm gonna have to ask.
Speaking of the dinghy, it's a carbon fiber AS tender with a unique center console. And we love the carbon construction as it means that it's lightweight and will far outlast any inflatable dinghy. And dinghies are important because they're a cruiser's car. You want a good, reliable ride. And while we were oh so thankful to have a dinghy to zoom around on and explore, we weren't big fans of the ride. While it sort of looks like the carbon fiber OC tender we once owned, it wasn't as stable or as dry as our OC was. We also found that the center console took up a lot of room and wasn't really easy to balance the weight out with additional passengers. In fact, when we needed to make a run across the anchorage, we ended up borrowing Zatara's tender so that we could be comfortable and dry, which is not something we ever needed to do with our OC tender.
So we are heading back to the mooring ball in a few minutes, and that's when we will fly back and leave this boat. And it's been such an absolute pleasure to be back in the Bahamas, to be sailing again.
We're just so grateful for the time aboard. Huge thank you to Beth and Paul for loaning us your home and
trusting us with it.
Yeah, I know. It is a lot of faith to put in somebody, especially we have not met in person, just digitally. So I feel like that's it. Anyway, we don't take that lightly. We really appreciate it. We have absolutely loved our time aboard Second Star. She is an incredible vessel and you have a lot of adventures ahead. And if you ever need crew, we're happy to come back.
Thank you guys so much.
All right.
Thank you all.
Yes, we will see you all next time.
Bye guys.
Bye.